I just wanted to call your attention. I brought some reprints of an article that I posted for CNBC.com on opposite thinking. And specifically around, it was an episode in Seinfeld where George Costanza does the opposite of everything that he's thinking and gets the job at the Yankees, gets a really attractive girlfriend, etc. It's a lot funnier, actually, if you remember to go back online and look for the article under CNBC.com in their executive careers blog, because they actually have the episode on there. So as I'm talking about the episode, you can watch the episode on there. But I brought that here because it's Saturday morning. It's way too early to be so serious. And I thought it's much funnier to talk about Seinfeld. But also because, opposite thinking in today's job search is actually really important. So, one example of, I think, something that's counterintuitive is that the unemployment rate is higher for young people than it is for any other demographic. So this is an incredibly challenging market for the young professional set. And the other thing that I wanted to talk about is that the way to go about a job search, and this is true for the experienced professional or the young professional, but I think for young professionals, because they haven't been in the market that long, this might be news to them. I think it's also, an example of opposite thinking. So I think when people go out and do their job search, they think about looking at what's open, dropping their resume, hopefully getting an interview, going to that interview, waiting to hear what happens, whether or not that pans out. And then if it pans out great, they get a job. And then repeat. If they don't get that job, we repeat. I'm going to look for more openings. I'm going to send more resumes. I'm going to go on more interviews. I'm going to wait some more. Wash, rinse, repeat, right? So that is the traditional job search. And this market really is not going to be kind to the traditional job search. It's time for some opposite thinking about a more proactive job search. Now, I think experienced professionals know, that there's this hidden job market that can be tapped by networking. They've spent years developing their network, and so perhaps, again, they're a little bit more versed in this. But for young professionals, this is also going to have to be the case for you. That instead of waiting to see what jobs are open, because the jobs that are posted, where the posting is actually accurate and the job is actually filled by postings, is something like 20% of jobs that are out there, right? So if you are relying on job postings, again, young professional, experienced professional, if you're relying on job postings, you're missing 80% of the market. So you can't do that anymore. How do you do that then? Instead of the postings, you have to target your own companies, make your own openings. You have to think about where you want to be working, the industry, the function, and the geography. Okay, so those three criteria together make up a specific target. Any one of them, I'm looking for a job in New York, too broad. I'm looking for a job in financial services. Okay, so that's a specific industry, but what are you going to do in financial services? Are you going to be in HR and marketing? Are you going to be in finance, operations, legal? So that's not specific enough as well. Okay, I'm going to do finance. Okay, great, that's a functional area, but are you going to do finance at Toys R Us or at Goldman Sachs or at Waste Management or at IBM, or where are you going to do it, right? So industry, function, geography is what you need to target. Once you have your target, you can find companies that play in that target. You research those companies. You think about where you might fit there. You look at the people who are there, and you network your way into these companies. I know I'm making it sound more simplistic. That, it's a simple strategy. It's not always easy to execute, but that's the strategy, is that you are attempting to get into the areas that you're targeting rather than waiting for them to hang out a shingle and say, I'm looking for someone like you. So you are taking back control of your job search. You're not ceding your job search to the postings that happen to be out there or to recruiters who happen to be out there looking for you, right? You are looking for yourself. And this is going to mean that you spend, more of your time perhaps around research, looking at the internet, looking at hoovers.com for information on public companies, or Dun & Bradstreet's $1 Million Directory for information for private companies, or on guidestar.org for information on nonprofit companies, places like vault.com, VAULT.com, or wetfeet.com, as opposed to dry feet, wet feet, that have insider guides to companies or that have published information on different industries. A good business library or a good local public library is going to have the Encyclopedia of Associations that has a listing of the different professional groups by subject. So if you are looking for a professional associate, if you have an interest in, wine or in parenting, you can look up that subject and you can find the trade group that plays in that area, and you can again start to get specialized research, whether it's publications or member directories, and you can start building your network in that specific area. And that's really where I would recommend, during this time, that you spend your time. So that, yes, absolutely, look at postings. If you want to spend, 5 hours of a 30-hour search on postings, that's great, 20% of your time. And then the rest of your time, you can focus on some of these other things. Talking to people, asking intelligent questions about what they do, trying to get a sense for where you might fit within that industry. It might not be in the specific company of where you're talking to someone, but it might be somewhere else, maybe in one of their competitors, or in an area you might not have thought of, but that is related to or ancillary to what you're targeting. So it's a much more proactive job search. I'm telling you to do more work, I think, than just, again, trolling for the postings and sending out blindly. But what you get in return is a lot more knowledge about what you're doing and what you're moving towards, and you get a lot more control. And who knows, maybe you'll get your dream job at the Yankees and your dream girlfriend. So.
My topic is really looking at packaging yourself as a consultant, and I'm so happy to have that topic because I believe that this is really where the whole workforce is moving. And Time Magazine a couple weeks ago talked about sort of the new workforce and what that would look like, and it says unemployment is at a 25-year high, but work will return. It won't look the same. No one is going to get paid just to show up. We will see more flexible, more freelance, more collaborative, and far less secure. But the message I took away from that is, again, the consulting career and to become a consultant in this dynamic, changing workforce is really, I think, a very strategic way to go professionally. And one of the things I think is really important if you want to embark on a consulting career is really understand sort of what your value proposition is. What are you? Think about yourself as having to package yourself as a product that you're going to go in and sell your potential client or customer. So I think the best consultants have done a lot of time and work up front, really understanding what their strengths are and really understanding what value can they bring to a client. So, there's all sorts of books out there to really sort of go through that self-diagnostic process. One that I've just read recently that I found really powerful was Go Put Your Strengths to Work. And you have to actually buy this hard copy, so you can't borrow it from anyone because there's a code in the, jacket flap, and you plug it into a computer, and you can do, it's like a 35-minute online survey, but it's fascinating. It comes out, by the way you're answering these questions, it will spit back to you sort of these 5 dominant themes. And when I read what my themes were, I almost started to cry. I said, oh my God, this book is absolutely right on target. So once you sort of and I think it's a Myers-Briggs sort of for dummies because Myers-Briggs has all the initials and letters, and I always got confused, but these are like 4 or 5 words.